Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Today I'd like to start by commending my honourable colleague, the member from Banff Airdrie, for putting forward this compassionate motion on behalf of his constituents and all Canadian families from coast to coast. So congratulations, this motion is exactly the types of things that we should be looking at as parliamentarians. I just want to share with everybody, just so that we recognize what this motion truly is. It is an opportunity for us to grow together, to make sure that we can work together and do what benefits our Canadian families. The motion states that the Standing Committee on Human Resources, Skills and Social Development and Status of Persons be instructed to undertake a study of the impact on parents who have suffered the loss of an infant child, including in the case of sudden infant death syndrome, to consider, among other things, 1, ways to improve the level of compassion and support for parents who have suffered the loss of a child, 2, ways to ensure that parents do not suffer any undue financial or emotional hardship as a result of the design of government programming, particularly from employment insurance parental benefits, and that the committee holds a minimum of 6 meetings to hear from witnesses that include parents who have lost an infant from SIDS, organizations who advocate for SIDS families, experts in the area of grief counselling, as well as officials responsible for the employment insurance parental benefits program, and that the committee report its findings and recommendations to the House within 6 months of the adoption of this motion, and that is to be instructed a request of a comprehensive government response in its report pursuant to Standing Order 109. I think we have to go back to why we're all in this House in the first place. Our roles are to be members of Parliament, and our role is to serve Canadians. This motion provides an opportunity for us to serve Canadians to the best of our ability. This motion focuses on people, not the government, but people, and how federal government programs impact families at extremely difficult times in their lives. This motion is not about asking the federal government to spend more money. It's not about a partisan policy. It's about Canadian families, and we can serve them and how we can serve them at an extremely vulnerable time. When the member brought this motion forward to discuss further, I started to think about my own constituents in Elgin, Middlesex, London, and the struggles that our families go through. Now add that to a significant loss of an infant child. At a time when families need compassion and they need supports of this government, this House will have the opportunity to begin to understand how federal programs can negatively impact families going through a crisis. The member from Banff Airdrie has shared not only his motion, but has provided an opportunity for every member in this House to sit down and to speak to families that have been affected. I would like to personally thank him for that, because having a face to this issue makes it real. And this motion and the issue is real for many Canadian families. So just to share with you, I had gone, of course, anytime you're doing a speech, you want to know what you're talking about. So one of the things that I did was refer back to information from Statistics Canada. And I would like to share with you the information according to Statistics Canada in 2014. At that point in 2014, there was 1,794 deaths of children under the age of 1. Most striking for me was the total number of deaths of infants between 0 and 27 days. This staggering number is 1,395 days, or 95. So just imagine a mom or dad waiting for a miracle to be born, a 280-day gestation period, and for them, they may only have 1 or 2 days, even sometimes just hours, to spend with that miracle. In Canada, 1,395 parents have lost their child within just 27 days. And I think that is something that we must recognize. As a parent, and I know that there are many parents in this House, we all know what it's like to anticipate the birth of a child. It is a time that we become excited. We're out there doing shopping, we're buying Pampers, we're buying cribs, we're doing all of those things. And just to imagine that 1,395 children are lost in the first 27 days, that's 1,395 parents impacted because of this. Not just the parents, we also have to consider the grandparents, the siblings, and everybody around there. We need to make sure that we are growing a support system, and our government can be part of that support system. There are a number of causes of infant death, from sudden infant death syndrome to neonatal hemorrhaging. I would like to share with you a story that I read while compiling my research on this motion. It was from the Toronto Star, and it's dated October 24th of 2016, written by Lauren Pelly. This story has not so much to do with what the government must do, but it's sharing with you the story of a woman and her husband who had lost their child. And from this, I hope you recognize how important it is that we recognize the emotions that are going through a family. Jillian Cooper was 38 weeks and 2 days pregnant when she realized something was wrong. On that October morning in 2011, the nearly full-term baby inside her wasn't moving. Cooper didn't feel the little one's typical kicks later while she was running errands either. She came home and picked up her 3-year-old son and another child she was babysitting, and she put them down for a nap. And still, she felt no movement. She drank a cold glass of milk, nothing. Then a glass of juice, nothing. Cooper got nervous. She went to the hospital with Jackson, her 3-year-old son, later that day, and met her partner, Jay, her stepson, and her friend, Grady, and the whole group settled in for a lengthy wait. When a nurse finally brought Cooper in to check for a heartbeat 3 hours later, she could only pick up Cooper's, not the baby's. An intern doctor and an ultrasound machine arrived next. "We don't know the sex yet," Cooper recalls telling the doctor. "It isn't going to make a difference," she calls the doctor, curtly replying. Cooper's own doctor came by shortly after to confirm that the heartbreaking news: Cooper's baby had died less than 1 week before her scheduled C-section. In her quotes, "I held Jackson tight and tried to stand up. They got me a wheelchair. The screaming and crying. I've never and probably never will again be that upset in my life," Cooper recalls. Still in shock from the loss, Cooper had to make a quick decision. Would she deliver the baby, or would the C-section she originally planned be done? "The thought of pushing a dead baby out of my body," Cooper trails off, speaking to the Star from her home in Toronto. She opted for a C-section. Since losing the baby, a 7-pound boy named Carter, because of a knot in his umbilical cord, Cooper has been sharing her story of the pain and heartbreak that accompanies a stillbirth, a rare but devastating outcome during pregnancy that remains hush-hush despite its emotional toll on the family. So I want you to take this story of Jillian Cooper's, and imagine what she and her spouse are feeling. Imagine what Jackson is feeling. Imagine the pain and the devastation to this family. I've provided to you this information, although we see that it is less than 2,000 children that die under one. We have to recognize the impact that it has for our Canadian families. This is not rare. It is not rare for these sort of things to happen. And we also have to realize it is extremely traumatic. But what happens next is what we as parliamentarians can discuss. We can take a story like Jillian Cooper's and think, how can we be part of the solution to help make things easier for someone like Jillian Cooper? We have an opportunity to think about how federal government programs impact these families who have gone through a horrific experience. So I want to share with you some things that we as members may not already be aware of. Through Service Canada, under the critically ill benefit, if your child is ill, a parent can take up to 35 weeks off during the child's illness, but this is not extended beyond the date of the death. So for instance, your child has been ill for let's say 34 weeks. Your child passes away. Your employment insurance critical benefits cease at the time of the child's passing. Now, some of you may say, well, this is easy. There's a simple solution. We'll switch it over to sick benefits. It sounds fine, but there needs to be an advocate. There needs to be somebody there on behalf of this family. There needs to be somebody who is going to be advocating and making sure she is getting the customer service that this government and all governments should be providing, and that Service Canada has the ability to do. What would we do to help a family? Is there a way that we can adjust this to make sure that transitions are smoother for these families? Should this be an automatic transition from one type of benefit to another? This is exactly what this study is going to do. It's going to look at these benefit programs and how we as parliamentarians can look at these sad times and how we can make a difference in somebody's life. How about one who is on a maternity leave? One is eligible for 15 weeks of maternity leave. But let's say, for instance, the child passes on week 14. Did members of Parliament know that the person on maternity leave is granted only 1 more week? She is only given 15 weeks of maternity leave, meaning she is expected to go back to work after her 15 weeks, after the loss of her child 1 day. And yes, I'm getting that. So I'm passing on to the next page quickly. Thank you. I just want to remind everybody, this is a really important motion. There is not a lot of time for these families, but we need to make sure that we give them the time. We must make the time. Please vote to support this motion so that we can study this in committee so that we can make the difference for these families that need us when they need us most. Thank you.